Okay, that should be all right there. I think we are also streaming as far as I can tell. Just trying to adjust my camera position a little bit. And I think that's all right. So if the cat will actually allow me to do anything today, yeah, we should be able to get this done. So I've got the donkey already rigged, and he is lightly animated. For whatever reason, I cannot find his bones. What happened here? We had a rigged donkey. I don't know where his rigging is at, though, to be honest with you. So we're gonna double check this here and make sure of that. I am not sure. Oh, you know what? I turned them off. Okay, so we have them. It's just not animated yet. So we're going to get some weird anomalies. You're going to see this kind of stuff happening. I'm going to turn on the warp layer of the donkey. And I'm going to turn off the warp layers of other things so we don't have that issue kind of creeping in. But you can see I've done a warp layer here on him. And I've added a head and neck and a little chest bone. Well, I've added, like I said, this warp layer and that I can animate, so you can do this kind of thing with them. And that was the whole point here. So with that, I'm just going to throw maybe a little head nudge here, back to here, you know, just kind of boom, boom. And then maybe a slow rise up on it or down like that. And then back up a little bit. And this is only going to be for like almost 3 seconds. So it's going to kind of do this sort of thing. That'll work. And then we got a little ear twitch maybe right about here. So just kind of this kind of thing and this kind of thing. And then right before it, we will... Actually, let's do that before we'll come back, and we'll put one here first, a lock frame, and then I can go back and do a copy of that particular frame here over after it. And then now, right in the middle, we can take all these guys, sort of flick them outward. This might need to be faster, but we'll see. So it's not bad. Could be even slower, to be honest with you. Just going to drag that frame maybe over here and let it... That's fine. Maybe even farther, I don't know. Not that one. This one. Oh, that was just the one. Lord. So we can pull this one maybe over even farther. It's just a really short thing, so maybe a second head movement. So from here, we can get that. And then here, maybe a second head movement like so. And then maybe something like this and back up from this point. And, you know, that should work. Let's just see. Boom, head. Okay, I just think that one's a little extreme. So let's go back and move the kind of the body back. See what happens. I think that works for me. So now we need to rig the camel and the sheep. I have them mesh warped already. So I'm going to turn off the warp for the donkey and throw it on for the sheep. And this is where we can actually build the animation. Sorry, my hair is a complete wreck today. I didn't bother. What's new? No, I didn't bother caring what I look like today. Okay, so within this sheep here, this is the sheep's warp. I'm going to group the sheep and its warp, and we're going to put that into its own little group here. We have to do that on frame 0, as we all know. We're going to call this sheep. I feel like nothing is working for me or with me this morning, so I apologize. We're going to right click that and turn that into a bone layer, convert to bone. And now we can start adding stuff. So I'm just going to give it, I'm going to give it like a kind of a root bone here. I'm going to give it sort of a body bone. I'm going to maybe make this wiggleable kind of here. And maybe a neck, head, and maybe just a small sort of straight ear there. And we'll see what works for that in a second. I'm going to go to the mesh layer here now and add some lines because we need to break some of this up. So with our add points tool, I'm just going to sort of give it a sort of a breaking line here. That did not need to be connected, but I think it doesn't matter if I do. It should be fine. And now this is to move kind of the back and stuff, so that'll be fine like it is. But I do really kind of want to create a separation with the head and neck here. Maybe even a little more here. I'm just going to do 3, just so we have some control over what compresses. I don't care about the body right now as much. We'll see what happens though. So for this bone, we're just going to take the entire base, including the shadow, and just stick that all together. In fact, I think I'm going to grab all of those from that divider as well. And we're going to bind those to the base. And we're going to take the next bone here. And we got to make sure that what we're moving here stays with this guy. So I think I'm going to grab, well, maybe not even those. I'm going to grab this, which probably could have stayed with the base. Let's grab these and put them with the base. Right there, those points. This one with these points, because that's not really going to move on its own. Then we'll go up to that bone here. This is really just for the left side. Something like this. Yeah, I think so. And then the next bone, we'll wait on this because it's just going to shift some stuff around. No, I'm going to do it. Okay, so we'll just grab it. Might as well be methodical with it. Something like maybe that. This can be with that. This can stay with the neck bone. So we're going to go ahead there. I'm going to pick the and you know what? I think I'm also going to put these guys just so that the neck is sort of braced by this. And then we're going to take our neck bone. As far as I know, we're going to use these. Might as well. No, we're going to grab. Ugh, this is hard to tell. I'm going to grab those for sure. That's going to be probably the head. And we'll take maybe just these guys here, I think, for that. Nope, I said just these. Thank you. And then the head bone is what's really going to move most of the stuff. I just got to make sure what's going to move when it moves. So this will be that one, all of these, for sure that one, and the rest of those like so. And yeah, those for sure. Let's just bind those. Then the ear bone is just going to wiggle that ear tip a little bit. So it's just going to be these. And now these probably can just go with the body here, the base. So we're going to grab that bone here. And these can go with the base. I think that'll work okay. So we're going to wiggle these around a little bit and find out. That seems okay for the little bit it's going to do. That's just kind of a body shift. This is kind of, yeah, the neck, and then the head will be more separate. That's perfect. And then the ear does ish its thing. And I didn't want to warp the head out, so I think that's perfectly fine. Okay, cool. We can take the strength of those bones down if we want, because they're just really kind of ugly, sticking out there, hard to see anything. So we'll just get rid of those. Not that I will probably need to worry about them being in the way. It's just for me, but let's do a little animation for him. We got to make sure it doesn't copy what the other one's doing. So that's kind of the big thing. So we'll start with maybe a tiny bit of a body move. I'm just going to make it real big and slow. You know, just to give some movement. We really should have rooted this to the ground, obviously. So I think I'm going to go back and have to do that. I'm going to add in just going to clear and deselect any bones whatsoever. I'm going to add a bone here that will not move and won't be jointed either. And that one needs to be parented now to this one. No, that one, sorry, that was wrong. So that parent needs to be 0, but this one needs to be parented to the root bone. Other way around, guys. Okay, with that now we need to repoint bind the sheep warp layer. Just to this bone, we're just going to put all the base stuff. The bit of a body movement, that's not going to kill me, so we're just going to use like the shadow and the feet kind of, you know, area, and bind those. That way nothing moves, definitely where the shadow is and where the shadows lie, and the feet and all that kind of stuff. So let's just test it out. I'm going to go back here to this. Oh yeah, once again, let's turn off any of our power for any of the bone, or for that bone specifically. Okay, and we could just test these now. So he's going to be able to lean a little bit there without, oops, we got rocking. He's not cool. Why is that not locked in place? That's a really good question. Let me get rid of these keyframes. That should not be moving when this moves. So let me delete this bone. Start over. Delete this bone. So what I need to do is, with nothing selected, create like a pin bone, I guess. Here, I think, will work. And we're just going to select this bone, parent it now to that bone, and then we're going to redo that warp layer again. This should have worked the first time. I don't know why it's doing something so strange. So now we can take the bone and we can parent all these things to it. If this doesn't work this time, I'll probably just have to take a break and go get some coffee before I throw something. All right, so now I have a feeling it's still okay. That seems to be okay. It might be because I took off the power of it, but it shouldn't have. It's still acting a little strangely in my opinion, but if I take the strength off of it just to test it, which is the best thing to do, just to see, and we move this bone now, seems to be fine. I probably should have put some separating lines here in that mesh. So we can always go back and do that too real quick by just coming in here, being on frame 0, and saying, hey, I don't want anything moving from here, kind of a thing. That should work. You can even attach them. It's not going to hurt anything to do so. This way, when we bind those points now, which we must do, to we could probably bind all this, honestly, to the feet, or the base, I mean. Let's just do that. We're going to grab that. We're going to say, please use, just use all this. It's not going to hurt anything. All these, I don't know what I did this mess for, but I wanted to include all that. So we're going to bind all those to that base. Now when I move the base, that all should stay stable. Nothing weird happens. Okay, cool. So now we should be able to animate him. He's got that little bit of a body movement happening here. And I think it's only going to go to here anyway, so I'm just going to sort of rock it back just to give him a little life. And so maybe here we get a little head raise like this. Let's just check it with the other. I want to make sure all this works together. And then at this point, we're going to drop this head back down like this. I mean, let's see. I think that kind of coincides a little too much. Maybe just pull that out more here. Let's see. Body movements I'm fine with. It's kind of the head movement, so I feel a little and on this one, lift the ear just slightly down, just to give it a little something extra. All right, let's move on to the camo. I mean, this is just real basic junk here. So this one we are also need to be on frame 0. We're also going to go through and make him a bone layer. Not that one. Yes, that one. And we're going to turn on his warp. And now we can come in here and add the bones for him. So I'm going to do a base bone. Then I'm going to do the just the legs as one. And that's fine. There should be no issues with that. This doesn't really need anything here, so I'm just going to kind of come up, make him a couple, maybe 3 bones like that. The ears aren't going to move, which is weird on a camel, but he's at an angle we're not going to be able to tell. And I'm going to go ahead on the mesh layer here and add in those extra lines. So for starters, we'll just make one kind of that comes across here. It just breaks up the mesh in case we need to move any of this separate from anything else. This neck for sure. Something like that. I like to break it up pretty much where the bones go. That way it kind of has a flexing sort of point. That makes some sense. If we really need to, though, you can always chop any of this up. I'm going to test it as we go, but so let's start with this base, or the root bone. And what's going to be with it, I'm just going to stick the feet, a good chunk of this, the ground slash feet with it, like that. Let's bind those. Those won't move at all. And then the next bone is just going to be all the legs, which really aren't going to move unless we want to rock him back and forth in any way, which would be probably not necessary. I think that's all good there. Bind those. The next one is, of course, this here. So we need to make sure, this is the other thing. This feels like it needs something to at least mount to. I'm just going to mount it to this main bone because it's not necessarily going to move or anything. So we're just going to also grab all these here anyway. Nope, not those. Let me start over. We're going to grab, yeah, all these like that right here and add those. That'll just solidify his body, other than, you know, leaning the main portion if we want. And then, of course, this section will be possibly controlled by something. Maybe this will handle these, if it lets me select them. Okay, that should be there. Then the next bone is going to be here, and that should be able to control all of these and this kind of base portion of that. There we go. And then this will be the final neck bone. I'll just control all the rest of that, but not the head sections at all. Maybe that one. So we can bind those, and then this one obviously is the head, and we'll control all of it, I hope. Okay, now we can test that to make sure it's moving somewhat okay. We do have a weird rockiness, and I think that's because of the strength of these. So I'm going to come back to our camel layer here. Just work on his toe maybe. No, let's just grab the bones here. The strength of those. Let's grab all of these first. And then the strength of all of those. Alright, and then I can move and see. That seems better. Now, this breakage is happening because of that warp layer, so I can fix that. This is seemingly fine here, though, which is the main thing I'm worried about. So, have him do a motion like that. It's not bad. Yeah, something that involves the neck a little bit. But that issue with the legs is coming from the fact that the points are solidified, so I should probably do less on those. So I'm just going to come here to that warp layer, reselect the bone that is selected, and you can see it breaks right across here. So we're just going to take that and include, I guess we'll include all of these points back into it. That should make that breaking stop, because I don't know what's going on. It's like we have an extra shadow layer back there. Really strange. So let me just double check on that. That is not him. Okay, here we go. Let's see. That is on his shadow layer, so I didn't know that was going on. We could go back into Photoshop and clean that up, but we're not going to really move this anyway. You know, it's not going to move from there. So it's really just going to be this. So that's all I'm going to worry about right now. If we have a problem, then I could fix it. But if there is a problem, I'll solve it. Okay, so as these animals do their thing, so about to 96. This is pretty much where everything will stop. So I'm just going to kind of put this dude, let me go back to my bone layer. Put this dude, just kind of keyframe these by tapping them. We'll leave this one and this one as it is too. And then maybe right here, this is kind of where the camel will sort of dip his head, dip the neck a little bit. See, I'm just going to keep straightening those ankle ones out, this body here, so you can cover that issue. So there shouldn't be any problem. So he's got this. And then maybe a little. Like he lifts up here. Just so it looks like all together. I don't want to look like they're all out there making weird movements, but just acknowledging the fact that, hey, there's a party going on over there. We should be a part of it. So he's got I think that's all right. Let's make sure the sheep doesn't look like he's fidgeting too bad or anything. I think it's all right. Okay, cool. So now we can add in our baby Jesus and our Mary and Joseph and so forth, and the star. Cool. All right. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Just wanted to show you the rigging and stuff of these animals, and I got you here with a clever title. So cool. All right. Talk to you.